Preface. This work presents a theory based on my understanding of my experience. Some people may identify with it, some may not. Maybe it helps others describe what's different that makes sense to them. Title: Lost Connection. A theory of suicidal thinking and what can help, as generated from inside my suicidal experience. Signed, HCF. A solid dark grey rectangular block has 8 bending lines extending from it. Each line is a different colour. Some lines have 1 or 2 small blocks alongside them in the same colour as the line.
The purpose of a theory is to increase understanding. Its presentation invites discussion to evaluate whether what's said is valid. If the theory is found to be accurate, it forms the basis for developing practical applications that can make a positive difference. This theory was generated from inside the suicidal thinking of one person. Only those who have had suicidal thinking are in a position to truly evaluate whether it usefully describes their experience. The theory. A person's intense focus on elements of their life that are not in tune with who they are dominates their thinking and obstructs their connection with living as their multi-stranded genuine self. When the amount of active genuine self becomes insignificant and discardable, suicide is an option that could end their intolerable situation. The risk is their intense focus shifts to actually carrying out suicide. Genuine self.
12 identical grey, simple person body shapes are arranged in 2 rows of 6. Each body is replaced in turn by 12 vertical coloured strips, roughly showing the person's shape. Each person's set of strips is a different colour combination.
Each person is unique in their creation, the space they occupy, and the life they live. They alone experience their internal world whilst living in the external world with all its cultural complexities, customs, rules, opportunities, and restrictions. A person's genuine self is at the core of their identity. It's active when their ways of being, doing, and interacting, and the associated details of what, how, where, when, with whom, and why, are in tune with who they are. They are truly being themselves. Genuine self has different strands that represent various aspects of being human, and each strand can contain many different elements. In-tune elements may be discovered throughout a person's life, and exploring with an open mind by trying new things can be a purposeful quest to find what's in tune. Some elements may be lifelong. Others may be temporary, as the person and their circumstances can change. Along the way, a person also discovers elements that are not in tune with who they are, finding out which can be tolerated and those to avoid.
1 set of multicoloured strips forming a person shape. The width of each strip varies in a random way and keeps changing.
The amount of what's in tune typically varies on an ongoing basis due to the predictable and unpredictable variations in everyday life, affecting different strands at different times. This is part of the everyday flux of living. Optimizing genuine self means the person recognizes and values what's actively in tune and reactivates as much as possible when any restrictions are eased.
12 sets of multicoloured strips forming person shapes are arranged in 2 rows of 6.
Being their genuine self is only quantifiable by the person themselves. Other people may observe what they think is genuine, but they do not have access to the person's inner experience to actually know. A person may choose to present a false front for various reasons, maybe to fit in with a group or to get through a situation.
1 set of multicoloured strips forming a person shape in bright colours. Each colour changes to a darker shade.
There may be a more mellow version of who they are behind what is seen.
Another set of multicoloured strips forming a person shape. Each colour changes completely.
Or contrasting characteristics are their true self.
Another set of multicoloured strips forming a person shape. The width of all strips reduces to single threads.
A false front may also hide the person's stark reality of very little in-tune activity. they have almost lost all connection with living as their genuine self. When the amount of active genuine self becomes insignificant and discardable, suicide is an option. Suicide would end the person's existence that has become far removed from who they truly are. How can this happen? Energy profile. The demands that consume a person's energy may be classed as in tune with them, not in tune, and necessities.
4 columns of different colours are arranged in a row. The first column for in tune is blue and the tallest. The second column for not in tune is pink and shorter. The third column for necessities is orange and shorter again. The fourth column for spare is green and the shortest.
In-tune elements fit comfortably with the person's own definition of who they are. They are a pleasure to experience as they resonate within the person and reinforce their identity. Not-in-tune elements disturb and aggravate and are unwelcome. They may range from niggles that annoy to full-scale conflicts that devastate. Necessities are the basic requirements for living. They keep the person in smooth running mode, both internally for their body and mind, and externally for living in a social setting and society at large. Some necessities may be in tune with the person, others may not. The reserve of spare energy is a backup source that can be used when needed to support overall functioning. Spare energy can be considered nice to have if you're lucky, but it's an essential for handling unexpected demands.
The height of all 4 columns varies in a random way and keeps changing.
The energy profile across the groups typically fluctuates over time. How energy is used depends on what's going on in the person's life and how much energy is available. Each day is never exactly the same, as even regular daily activities can vary in their content, and what is learned and experienced can change how something is viewed or done.
The height of the in-tune column increases in stages, together with the height of the spare column.
A person is responsible for generating their own energy. The main sources are rest and sleep, food and drink, and the resonance boost, where some energy is given back when in-tune elements are active. Spending energy on in-tune elements is a sound investment with immediate return.
A purple intensity surcharge layer is added to the top of the columns for in-tune, not in tune, and necessities.
An additional consumer of energy for some people is the intensity surcharge, where they spend extra energy at a high intensity level. High intensity may be used in a constructive way to get things done, but it can also overemphasize what's experienced and disrupt functioning instead of being useful. It's like excessive volume distorts music, over brightness causes glare, top speed increases the chance of crashing. Such high intensity is not necessary and wastes energy. Energy efficiency is about getting the same job done with less energy.
A red line is added across the columns for in-tune, necessities, and spare to indicate their alert levels.
Successful energy management relies on a person having anytime access to their energy profile. It's supported by setting alerts for the groups of in-tune, necessities, and spare that provide warnings when low levels threaten how the person is functioning. The alert levels are different for different people and may change over time. Maybe necessities become priority consumers of energy with a higher alert level needed.
The height of the in-tune column is just above its alert line. The height of the necessities and spare columns are below their alert lines. The not in-tune column then drops much lower with an increase in height for the in-tune, necessities and spare columns.
The alerts are only effective when the person takes notice of them and makes energy allocation adjustments to restore stable functioning across all the groups. When a high level of energy is spent on one group, it may deny energy to the others.
A large increase in height of the not in tune column. The heights of the in tune, necessities and spare columns are just above their alert lines.
High energy spend on not in tune elements may be endured as long as there's enough energy to keep above the alert levels for in tune, necessities and spare. As people are different, each person's tolerance of unfavourable conditions can affect how long they can maintain such a situation.
The height of the necessities column drops below its alert line. The section between the alert line and the top of the column is red.
Low energy spend on necessities may damage the person's well-being. When necessities include their obligations to others, low energy spend may also damage those relationships.
The height of the spare column drops below its alert line. The section between the alert line and the top of the column is red.
A low level of spare energy means there's less flexibility for handling all the person's demands. It can restrict how they respond when changes are needed, and may mean they miss out on opportunities.
The height of the in-tune column drops below its alert line. The section between the alert line and the top of the column is red. The not in tune column is high.
When energy is denied to in-tune elements and the amount drops below the alert level, the person is close to losing all connection with living as their genuine self. This may happen suddenly or gradually. When there is also high energy spend on not in tune elements, they are the person's main focus, and the adverse effects dominate how they are living. The depleted in tune and dominant not in tune are a two-hit combination that lands blows to the person's identity and existence. Suicide is then an option that could remove them from what their life has become.
A deep purple layer is added to the not in tune column, taking up about a third of the total height, showing the intensity surcharge.
When the intensity level is also high, the risk is the person's focus shifts to carrying out suicide, as heightened energy is readily available to follow through with the solution to their intolerable situation. What can help?
One person body is on the left, plus 4 different sets of blocks on the right. Each set of blocks is a different colour and style. The blocks change from fuzzy to clearly defined.
When suicide is the upfront option, it can be very difficult to see past it. When support is given, the aims are for the person to have accessible alternative options for handling their situation, plus invigorated strength and clarity to assess them. Making changes may be achieved in stages, possibly with a variety of inputs from others along the way.
8 small circles are linked together as a large circle, positioned on the left. Each small circle has a different illustration in it.
The octowheel has 8 stages that propel the person forwards. As each stage completes, the wheel turns and rolls until the cycle finishes.
An enlarged circular illustration shows the columns for in-tune, not in tune, necessities and spare. The in-tune column is below its alert line. The not in tune column is high, with a deep purple layer added for intensity surcharge. The necessities and spare columns are just above their alert lines.
Stage 1. Reduce intensity.
The not in tune column lowers due to a much lower layer. The other columns are higher.
Reducing the intensity level loosens the hold on what's focused on. This allows a wider view of what can be seen, as it frees up energy that can be used in other ways to process more of what's around.
An enlarged circular illustration shows one set of coloured threads forming a person shape.
Stage 2. Increase connection with living as genuine self.
The width of most of the coloured threads increases.
Increasing the connection with living as genuine self reinforces identity and presence in the world. Even a small increase in energy spent on any in-tune elements is a benefit.
An enlarged circular illustration shows a fuzzy, irregular shape in green.
Stage 3. Describe honestly what's going on.
A different fuzzy, irregular shape in yellow overlays the first. Then a third shape in blue is added on top, and a fourth in red.
Describing in detail what's been focused on highlights not in-tune elements that are demanding the high level of energy. It can also identify thoughts and feelings that are part of what's experienced.
An enlarged circular illustration shows 4 person bodies. A larger body is on the left, 3 smaller bodies are on the right at different distances.
Stage 4. Seek and share.
a line extends from the larger body towards the first smaller body, continues towards the second and on to the third. The zigzag line is then replaced by a straight, thicker line between the larger and third bodies.
Finding someone to be open with allows the inside reality to be released and recognised. Those who are closest are not always the easiest to turn to, and someone at an objective distance can be an advantage. The expectations for opening up to someone else are they will listen, will try to understand, and will help in some way.
An enlarged circular illustration shows the 4 overlaid fuzzy irregular shapes from stage 3.
Stage 5. Understand thinking and why it's happening.
The shapes move apart and become clearer.
Insider thinking may need outsider viewpoints to untangle it and explain why it's happening. Making sense adds to the person's self-understanding and balance that can provide stability for them moving forwards. For focus-related areas that are not in tune, specialists in those areas can help by using their expertise to add further clarity, plus possible practical options to consider.
An enlarged circular illustration shows a small, empty rectangle top left.
Stage 6. Plan the next steps.
1 empty rectangle is added below the first, connected by an arrow. An empty diamond is added to the right of the second rectangle, connected by an arrow. 2 lines of empty rectangles are added below the diamond, also connected by arrows.
Constructing a plan requires vision, strength, and energy, and the understanding that the outcome cannot be guaranteed. Priorities form the base to build on. Deliberately allocating energy and attention to what's needed adds structure and substance.
An enlarged circular illustration shows the rectangles and diamond from stage 6. The first rectangle is filled with blue.
Stage 7. Apply the plan.
The rectangle below the first fills with blue, followed by the diamond filled with green, and 1 line of rectangles below filled with blue.
The plan becomes reality when it's put into action. Setting off on the plan's first step takes courage.
An enlarged circular illustration shows a small circle, top centre, with lines radiating out to 6 irregular shaped blobs, each one a different colour.
Stage 8. Review what happens. Reviewing the outcome of what happens can occur at any point in the plan. Assessing what's working well and what's not influences what happens next. Adjustments can be made, advice may be sought. A new plan possibly created.
The octo wheel is now positioned on the right. The stages are listed on the left, with a repeat sign at the start and end of the list. Reduce intensity, increase connection, describe honestly, seek and share, understand thinking, plan next steps, apply plan, review what happens.
Stages may be repeated, as and when required. All stages are under the control of the person, as they are the driver. For example, they may or may not want to use the guidance and assistance of others. And answering ongoing check-in questions can be useful too. What's taking most of my energy and attention? How much of the genuine me is active? What needs to change? How can I make it happen? Closing thoughts.
The screen is blank, then question marks of different sizes and colours appear.
Suicide is not about death, except as a means of handling the current situation. It's about living and why there is the need for the life to end.
A frame with 4 stacks of offset rectangular blocks is replaced by a frame filled with irregular angular shapes, like a mosaic.
When someone looks at what's happening or has happened to someone with suicidal thinking, they may see typical patterns or features. But the real picture may be quite different for the individual person.
1 person body is on the left. A set of coloured strips in the shape of a person is on the right, that's repeatedly updated with different colour combinations.
Because every person is different, the detailed reasons why they have suicidal thinking are different too. There may be factors within the person and factors outside in the environment and society in which they live. Only the individual person can describe what's going on for them, what they're focusing on, and how they're responding. And different people may respond to the same situation in different ways. Because every person is different, the detailed actions they take to move onwards are different too. Each person needs to be the main player in working out what they do next, and honesty and an individual holistic view of themselves are essential.
One set of coloured strips in the shape of a person is on the left. The width of all the coloured strips then reduces to single threads.
Living as genuine self is central to living a fulfilling life. Losing connection with living as genuine self is central to suicidal thinking.
Added to the right are the 4 columns for in tune, not in tune, necessities and spare. The in tune column is below its alert line. The not in tune column is high, with a deep layer added to show intensity surcharge. The necessities and spare columns are just above their alert lines.
Obstructing the connection is the high energy spend on what's focused on that's not in tune with the person. Facilitating the move to carry out suicide is the added high intensity level of energy.
The not in tune column lowers with a much lower layer for intensity surcharge. The in tune column is higher, and the width of most of the coloured threads increases. The necessities and spare columns are also higher.
Reducing the high energy spend by lowering the intensity level and resolving, or at least lessening, not in tune focus-related issues releases energy. This energy can then be used to restore and strengthen the connection with living as a multi-stranded, genuine self, enrich necessities, and boost the spare energy reserve.
One set of coloured strips in the shape of a person. They become smaller and encased in 3 rectangular frames. As each frame disappears, the coloured strips grow to full size.
Returning from suicidal thinking may mean normal service is resuming for some, but a person may experience barriers to living as their genuine self. When others in society are accepting of difference and supportive of fairness, barriers may be removed. When that happens, the person can truly be who they are, which also strengthens their relationships and ways of contributing.
One person body is on the left. A spotlight appears under the feet of the person. The width of the spotlight increases, growing wider to the right.
Living is an opportunity to connect with what's inside and out. There's always more for any person to explore, and potentially more discoveries to be made about themselves and the world at large, when given the chances to find out.
The screen is blank. Then one person body with thought bubbles coming from their head appears.
So, that's the theory and what can help. What do you think?
Helplines. Findahelpline.com. Find a Helpline is partnered with verified helplines in over 130 countries. Search by country and topic. Key partners: International Association for Suicide Prevention, IASP, and Lifeline International. Also created by HCF. Grrr, a collection of nuggets about living a life that can be customised to create a personalised self-support resource. I'm Here, a spin-off from Grrr, an encounter tool to describe and evaluate how you're getting on with what's going on. Narration: Gavin Nevett. Audio description: Jill Priest. Created by Helen C. Fowler, helcfow@gmail.com.